Hi there, I'm Shavik, and today's topic is lead time and cycle time. Both are metrics, and I know both of them are widely used by agile teams. So both these metrics are basically originated from the manufacturing side. It's a long time ago, and yeah, let us first understand what these metrics calculate. Yeah. So the lead time measures the time from the moment the customer or a stakeholder makes a request to the team, yeah, until the time the request gets completed and delivered to them. So that's a lead time. And what's the cycle time? So the cycle time measures the time it takes the development team to work on that request and deliver it back to the customer. So that means cycle time is a subset of the lead time, right? Both are good indicators to assess the team's ability to deliver value to their customers. So if I have to say in a different way, lead time is a customer point of view measurement, or how long it takes from the perspective of customer for a feature to go from requested to complete, whereas cycle time is a developer's point of view metrics, that measures the time between when a developer starts work and when it's get delivered. Yeah. Okay, think of it as if you're ordering food online. So the clock starts on lead time when you place your order, and it stops when the food gets delivered to you at your maybe at your doorstep, right? But cycle time measures only the time from when the cook starts cooking for your order and when it's in your hand. Yeah. So say if there is an issue between the time you place your order and when the cook starts, you will either get your food late or maybe not at all, right? There can be a reasons like that. So reasons can be anything. Maybe the payment gateway that you have used that took time to process the payment, or maybe there was a glitch when while you are placing the order, or maybe there were too many orders in the place and your order is waiting in the queue before getting confirmed. Yeah. And these issues, I know these kind of issues will mess up your overall experience, no matter how fast and expert the cook is, right? And when he started the cooking. Yeah. So you can think the cook as a developer here, and the cooking as a development process. So if the owner of the restaurant is not tracking their non-food related efforts, they don't have the visibility into what's holding up the process and actually resulting in frustrating customers like me, yeah, or like you, whoever is placing the order. And they will undermine the and efficient work that their cooks are putting into the process. Like in our case, if a developer is putting in their hard work and efficient work fixing developing the code in a shorter span of time, that means their cycle time is slow. But since before they start the development there is a lot of things happening in the background, which is adding up to the lead time, it affects the customer satisfaction, right? So that's why it is important to measure both lead time and cycle time to gain more visibility around the blockers and then take the required measures. Sometimes a request can spend a lot of time in the backlog before a developer has the capacity to start working on it. And this waiting time keeps on adding to the lead time. Even when developer picked it up, the request gets into the progress, there are times there is no work being done. There can be multiple reasons, and that's again a wait time, and it again keep adding up to the cycle time. Stable cycle time is an indication, that a team is working at a sustainable pace and not encountering too many disruptions, right? And a stable lead time is an indication that the requests are coming in at a same pace, that a team can implement them. Yeah. A volatile cycle time is an indication that a team is facing challenges. So it may be a scope creep or a dependencies or system failures, or it can be anything else that makes it impossible for the team to maintain a constant sustainable pace, right? And volatile lead time. So a volatile lead time with stable cycle time, that indicates work is arriving in a very fast rate. So the lead time will rise when the rate of arrival of a request is higher than the team's rate of implementing them. Yeah. So on the other hand, if it will fall when there are lower stories coming in than the team can handle. Yeah. So all these are opportunities for improvement that will help a team become more predictable in their delivery of value to the customers, right? So let me share an instance when my team used these two metrics in my project to identify the opportunity to improve, and we also worked on it to get positive results. So again, we relied on these two metrics to validate our improvement, yeah, at a later point of time after incorporating some changes. Yeah. So let me share that. Okay, to provide a quick background, so our team is a central team which caters to the multiple product teams, to cater to the request for multiple product teams who create dashboards and reports for the business users. Okay, so our team gets a request to ingest data from different source system into Azure Data Lake. Now there are two things. First, when we receive a new ingestion request, we can't just start the development right away. So we need to get multiple approvals from different set of people. To give some example, the IRM approval we need, then business application owners approval, and then there are a few more. Okay, and we also need to check and make sure that the license agreement is in place with the source system to pull the data from their system. So there are a few checks that we need to perform before actually starting the development work. So and all these pre-development activities were adding up to our lead time. Yeah. Second, when team gets into the actual development, we need to take few approvals again, especially when we are ingesting data from SAP system or Salesforce, which adds up to our cycle time. I joined this team in December last year. So team was not maintaining these metrics when I joined initially. So after spending a month with the team, I felt that the team was not tracking the right kind of KPIs. So I spent some time to go through our board and review the completed request. Luckily for me, at least the team was maintaining all the work items in the board, and those were also updated. May not be very accurate, but enough for me to generate some insights from a team's past performance. Yeah. So what I did was I wrote some queries to pull up cycle time and lead time from last 3 months, and I published it. And we kept on maintaining these two metrics for next couple of months and check the trends. So one issue that got highlighted was the difference between our lead time and cycle time. So though our cycle time was somewhere around 2 weeks, our average, I was talking about average cycle time. So average cycle time was somewhere around 2 weeks, but our average lead time was beyond 6 weeks. So I saw that as an opportunity to improve, right? And we used to take customer satisfaction score from our stakeholders, so the product teams in our case. And one of the rating criteria was speed of delivery. So we were getting very low score at that front at that point of time. Yeah. So after getting this insight, next what I did is I conducted a value stream mapping workshop with at least one representation from every team, right? Like who send requests, who provide the approvals, who do the ingestion, and so forth. So I'll not get deep around how we perform the workshop, but at the end of it, we as a group identified few activities which were there as part of a legacy process, and then there are few other approvals which we were not, which were actually, we are not supposed to take every time for any new request. So we came up with few action items, and like getting rid of these unnecessary activities, and getting a blanket approval for few items so that it will reduce the overall lead time. I, as a Scrum Master, took the lead here as I did not want to disrupt the team at that moment. So, but whenever needed, I pulled people from the team, and with a month-long effort, we were able to, work on all the action items coming out from our VSM workshop. So we continued delivering ingestion requests and capturing both the metrics all this while. And as we predicted, when we look at those metrics after a few months, we saw a positive decline in our lead time, and but our cycle time was more or less same. As a team, we kept looking for opportunities to optimize further. Yeah. So one I observed one interesting fact there here. So our team cycle time was an average of all the requests we were delivering, right? So I wrote queries to break it down further and generated a graph. So though our cycle times, seems to be very stable, I noticed a significant variance while looking at the cycle time for different types of work. For example, a cycle time for different product teams, or cycle time to ingest data from a different source system. So it helped us to spot patterns and make predictions for a similar work in the future. And I would like to mention that our CSAT score, especially for the speed of delivery, has improved significantly. And the team is not stopping here. They are coming up with new ideas to automate, introducing DevOps or some utility functions, which is actually helping us to reduce our cycle time also. And there are multiple things that is there in our backlog, and the team is currently working on them. So you see, Lead time and cycle time gives insight in our own process, right? Start tracking these metrics, get a grip on your process, and gain the insights to know which area we need to adjust, right? The final goal is to reduce the lead time, as that is something valued by the customers. Measuring just the cycle time may not be of a great help. So I'll give you an example. Yeah. So say I need to go to Goa from Bangalore. Yeah. I booked my flight and the flight will take say 1 hour 30 minutes to reach Goa. And maybe we can consider this as our cycle time. But to board the flight, I need to first enter the departure area after a few scans, extra scans, maybe due to the COVID protocols that's going on currently. And then I need to be in the queue to get my boarding pass, drop my baggage, and then go through the security check. And then finally, I may or may not have to wait near my designated gate before getting boarded on my flight. So all these activities that I must go through before getting into my flight is adding up to my lead time, right? So maybe I can reduce my lead time by doing a web check-in or carrying just a cabin baggage so that I don't have to stand in a queue. uh, right, but measuring lead time is very important in such cases to provide more understanding, right, which reveal what blockages are canceling out all the agile work done by our developers. So in our example, even if the flight time gets reduced by 15 minutes, yeah, maybe they say, okay, instead of taking 1 hour 30 minutes, we will just take 1 hour 15 minutes. It will not have much of an impact on the lead time, and as a passenger I still have to go through that waiting period, right? The insight gained from the lead time is especially valuable if your cycle times are low. To summarize, measuring lead time and cycle time will show you where you need to improve your process and identify what persistent problems affecting your development and delivery, right? And then based on these insights, you can experiment with changes such as adding more people, maybe getting rid of unwanted activities, or breaking of work to drive down the lead time in the future. Yeah. So these all insights only you will get when you will be measuring the right KPIs. Yeah. So I wish and I hope that you have learned something new from this video. Thanks for listening. Cheers.